Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Camille Moore with Connect, and I'd like to thank you for tuning into Influencer Marketing, the best event strategy you are not using with Rachel Stephan. If you're joining us again from the October session, thank you. We had a technical difficulty that caused Rachel's audio to be skewed, but we're ready for a great webinar today. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes on the platform. You can type in your questions for Rachel in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen or via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'd like for this to be an interactive session, so please send in your questions throughout the webinar. A recorded version of this session will be available on demand on our websites, where you can find additional on-demand webinars for any of you needing last-minute credit hours before CMP testing. Yes, you're able to watch our sessions on demand and still receive credits. For everyone joining us live today, the credit is approved for 1 credit hour towards CMP IS Domain G meeting or event design. We will email your certificates this evening. For any of you future viewers watching this session on demand and not live, please email me directly at cmore@connectmeetings.com to receive your certificate. I'd like to thank On Services for sponsoring today's session. They have provided a video to share about their services. Thank you, On Services. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Rachel Stephan. Rachel Stephan is a creative thinker, idea generator, and an event industry speaker on topics that cover event marketing, social media, and digital events. What drives Rachel is empowering associations, profit, and nonprofit organizations, as well as meeting planners to build attendance and grow members' engagement. Rachel channels nearly 25 years of creative advertising experience, social media, web, and mobile technology to create, brand, and promote engaging, successful event marketing campaigns for national and international conferences and trade shows. She holds an impressive track record of breaking event attendance in over 410 successful event marketing campaigns for national or international conferences and trade shows, both public and trade sector. She recently launched Snowball, an event influencer marketing platform. Snowball was a top 5 finalist at the 2017 IMEX Pitch, as well as a IBTM World 2017 Tech Watch Award finalist and winner of the Best Use of PR. She is fluent in 3 languages and holds a master's degree in advertising and graphic arts and a digital event strategist certification. Rachel, welcome. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today and share with you some of the things about influencer marketing we've learned along the way. So thank you everybody for tuning in for this webinar today, and I appreciate your time. Essentially, I will start by, the statement that you see on screen is quite a loud one. You're no longer the voice of the industry, your influencers are. It all started when maybe a couple of years ago I did this little exercise when I went online, and I've seen many associations, positioning tagline being the voice of whatever the industry they are in. And I researched a little bit on Google, our friend, and Twitter bios and all that, and the results were like hundreds and hundreds and of associations almost with the same positioning. And it strikes me because, in today's world of communication, that claim is no longer true because everyone has a voice right now, and everybody's expressing it in their own little way of how they perceive your association or how they perceive your event. So essentially, your brand or your event is no longer what you're telling your audience it is about. It's what your consumers or your delegates are telling everyone else what it's all about. I see there's some audio. Do you hear me well?
Yes, you're coming in clear, Rachel.
Okay, that's cool. So, if you look at some statistics, just to kind of get an idea of how the situation is right now, of how people buy things or work on recommendation in order to take action for certain things, among them attending your event or purchasing a membership or anything related to your organization. Essentially, there's a lack of trust from consumers right now in ads or in the companies that they work with. They are more paying attention to the influencers. And influencers, it's a broad term, and people might think about it that it's only reserved for the big brands, for the B2Cs. It's only the famous who are influential. But that's not the reality, and that's not the type of influencers that we are interested in this particular case here, because everyone has influence, really. And think about the last time you purchased something, or you looked online first of all, and then maybe you refer to some of your colleagues or your friends or family, trying to see who else experienced it, who else went to this event, for example, who else bought this thing, and then based on that recommendation, you took action after that. So there's a real power in the influencers or the advocates or brand ambassadors who could be just about anybody. So these are the ones that we want to focus on in this particular webinar. Other thing to pay attention to, and then it's also we can't ignore, is that the fact that a lot of people have ad blockers on their computers too. So when you think about that and think about your messages from your organization and what you're putting out and the ads that you're putting out there, how many people have ad blockers who are not even seeing those advertising? And how do you circumvent that and then try to reach those audience that you're going after? Hence, enter the influencer, which is one of the solutions really to get you past that and get that authentic recommendation or opinion from someone else who is not yourself, who is preaching about your own event or organization. It's essentially like, if you have, maybe some of you have kids and you have that situation where you tell your kids something and you could just repeat it 10 million times and you know that they're not going to do it. And then enter someone else, a friend of theirs, or someone else, a family member, and all of a sudden they say it once and they listen to them because they heard it from someone else. It's the reality, and it's applicable also in the business as well. So the organic reach, also if we look at it from a messaging, if you're not even just using the paid advertising on social or on Google, even the organic content that is out there on Facebook, because of the change of algorithm, it diminished also the reach of it. Another reason why the page content from your organization or your event is not getting in front of the people you want them to see. So again, how do you circumvent that? It's one of the ways also to do that, because Facebook is favoring feeds, showing your friends' feed over showing you commercial pages feeds in your on your Facebook. Another, also one last statistics really is that 95% of marketers who use influencer marketing find it very effective, and it brings in 11 more time ROIs over traditional advertising. So if it works, the question if it works, does it work? Yes, it does. And we're going to go through some examples of some influencer campaigns that could apply to you. Some other ones just to kind of give you some ideas of how you can maybe take some parts of it and see how you can apply it for your own campaigns as well. So it's up for, inspiration, discussion, and by all means, while I go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. And we don't have to wait until the end of the presentation to kind of have this conversation and answer specific questions that you might have. So I just want to also say that, the type of influencer campaigns that I'm going to cover today in this webinar are all organic influencers. What that means is that they are not paid influencers. We're not paying anybody to do anything. We're collaborating and we're co-creating with them to make the campaign successful. So where do you essentially start with influencer campaigns? First of all, let's define the B2B influencer marketing. So what it is about activating or mobilizing internal resources or external subject matter experts that have a good amount of network and also can advocate and co-create content with you in order to drive value and drive business goals. So these are very important to define at the beginning of any campaign. Is really, what are you trying to achieve? Who is the audience you want to go and influence in order to take an action, whether it's going to be participate at your event or become a sponsor or any type of business objective that you have. Based on that, then it will be easy to identify who are the influential people that this new audience could listen to and can have an effect on them. So, first of all, what your influencers must have. We talk about the reach. And here I mentioned reach doesn't really necessarily also mean, like, we're not talking about the Kardashians, we're not talking about the high profile celebrities there that have millions of followers. In some cases, when it's a specific organization, maybe the reach is very small, but it's the quality of people you want to reach to. So it's really looking at the people that have a good reach, meaning that reaching the people that you want to go after. Are they relevant to that industry? Do they have authority? Do they have credibility? So, they have to have that credibility so that if they say something, their followers and their audience also would believe them, or they are the go-to source for their audience on a specific subject matter. And the residents, meaning that if they're putting out this content, how is the reaction from their community to their content? Are they is there engagement there? Is there commenting? Is there, are they affecting change in that content, in that community that they have? That's also very, very important to know. Another type of influencers defined also, and this is, by Lee Oden, who is the CEO of Top Rank Agency, who they do a lot of work on B2B marketing, influencer marketing, and this is a campaign they've done for SAP, and they've identified different types of influencer. In this case here, the brand individual, who are people who have their own brand. So they have a following, people know them, and they're all their own media basically, but they are in a specific type of industry. So people can relate to them and can follow them for a specific expertise. Then you have that industry experts, who are a little bit, a different level from the first one, who could be, if you look at maybe your speakers, the ones that are thought leaders in your industry that you could bring on to be able to collaborate with you and co-create some of the content to be part of the campaign for the influencer marketing campaign. And sometimes we don't look inside of our organization. You have your employee experts who could be who are experts in a specific area, depending on the industry you're in. So tapping into that expertise and showcasing also the organization from a human side as well, profiling and having your internal advocates be the champions of your brand and express and talk about certain things could be also very valuable to make them part of that campaign as well. And it humanizes the organization, humanizes the conference, and because at the end of the day, people do business with people. It's all about the human connection and the personal connection that people are most likely to relate to than just cold content that is very commercial. And the last one here is the partners and clients. So if you look at the conference, for example, you could tap into your sponsors, your exhibitors. They have also thought leadership. They are also doing things in their own businesses that could be aligned with your theme of conference, for example. Have them bring on board to participate and contribute in terms of content and education that would augment a little bit their sponsorship, would augment their exhibition participation because they're bringing in value as opposed to providing just a logo that's going to be placed somewhere, but they're also contributing knowledge to elevate the whole event experience. So when you think about it, it's not really about reaching more people. Think about it, it's more about reaching the right people that you want to attract. That is really, really key. And, to simply illustrate it here, there's different types of influencers, the micro versus the macro influencer. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the person on the left, Kiki L'Italien, who's very known in the association industry. She has the association chat. So for someone who is doing a campaign and their audience is trying to reach association, she would be the person that we would bring in on board to kind of tap into her audience because she has quite a bit of following. 8,000 Twitter followers might not be a lot, but in the terms of association and the audience that we might want to reach, she is the one to go to. Not the famous actor on the right-hand side, Woody Harrelson, although he has much more followers on Twitter, but, it's relevance, basically, that is most important here than anything else. So, again, another statement here from Madeleine Sklar, in today's world of influencer marketing, we can better relate to micro-influencers. And micro-influencers are, your speakers, even your delegates are micro-influencers. It's easier to relate to them. It's easy to trust them, and they're more approachable too. So if you get someone like them to be part of your campaign or participate, and their community engages with them, answers them, talks to them, they're more likely also to answer and be present, as opposed to a famous person or someone that you pay and they're paid just to post one thing. And that's it. They're not there. They're not relatable. They're not there to respond to people. They just did their job, did the deal, and then moved on to something else. So there's big power there in working with your micro, macro, micro influencers. So it's very, very, very interesting to kind of tap into those type of people. So why would you want to start an event marketing platform? An event influencer marketing program. Think about it is that you want to reach a goal specific, let's say for registration. You want to co-create content with some types of group of people, could be from your speakers. They can contribute to augment your campaign. So if you're an organization of a very small team of marketers inside, and maybe in some organizations like a team of one or a team of two people who are just doing a lot of things at the same time. So if you think about, how many speakers do we have? If we can rally around maybe 10, 15, 25 people who could be contributing also to the content of our marketing campaign, there you just double, triple the amount of content that could be generated, and that is providing a lot more value to your potential audience. So he's almost expanding your marketing power in collaborating and bringing in industry experts and pulling on their expertise to drive the campaign. And essentially, it's also about the trust. Yes, they would trust their organization, but they also would trust someone else saying that you are a great event or you must come for this because, this is what you're going to be learning on. So that's very, very important to tap into is its actual trust of your influencers. So this is some campaign that also was done by Top Rank. Is really how can you tap into in any industry really? Look at what your thought leaders are. Who are the ones that known in that specific vertical of industry, and see if you can contribute or can co-create with them some sort of content. In this case here, they created the Executive's Handbook to Modern digital commerce, and they called on these three top industry leaders that would, be trusted by the audience that would receive this. And they created this handbook of about 60 pages based on their feedback, based on their experiences. So it's a valuable piece of advice, a valuable piece of insight that could be shared with other executives. So, if you're targeting executive, you want to bring in other executives, they would talk the same language basically and would appeal to them. And you can see, the big conversions are higher. So it is also very important to have metrics in place in order to measure the effectiveness of the campaign that you're trying to do. The same thing here for this technology company. What they did also is they gathered top experts on the right-hand side. You see their pictures here where they all contributed to the whole post about digital transformation and how can you do that in your business. And having those experts also share that content to their community expands the reach way beyond what that organization has in place to begin with. So it's not just about reaching your own audience, but it's also tapping into the audience of all these different industry experts, speakers, sponsors, whoever's involved really in the ecosystem of your event. It allow you to expand your reach beyond what you have in place. So you have to think about influencer marketing or approaching influencers really not as a one-time deal, but it's more of a long-term relationship where you're gonna nurture it and be of mutual benefit to both you and the person that you bring on board to help with that specific campaign. So there are different steps that you could go about approaching them and how to work with them. Essentially, at the beginning, you want to see how you find them and get on their radar. So showing that you're interested in what they're posting, following them on social, watching a little bit what kind of content they're putting out there, watching a little bit also what kind of reactions they get from their community. Are they liked? Are they valued? They're reshared? Just to be also, it's almost like keep an audit on some of the people that you might think you want to get on board in order to help you in creating that campaign. Then you start establishing a rapport with them by liking, retweeting their content, maybe taking some quotes from what they're saying, including them in some of your infographics or visuals that you're using there. And then obviously maybe start first by having them contribute in a small little type of contribution, like micro content contribution, where you might send them one question really that is related to the industry or related to maybe the theme of your conference, and have them answer from their point of view and their angle. Use that answer as a small little quotable content that could be featured in your social media campaign, or could be featured in your emails or some other type of form of communication that you might have. And then after that, you'll see how you want to evolve that into maybe a long-form contribution from their side, where they could be contributing more like a long blog, where you could do an interview with them, where you can ask them way more questions, dig a little bit deeper in the subject of expertise that they have in order to drive and extract that knowledge from them in order to repurpose it into multiple different communication pieces that will help drive your campaign. Another way also that you might want to watch and see who's doing what and who's active and who has that loudest voice basically in your particular area. Here you can see that the hashtag of GMID, the Global Meeting Industry Day last year, where just putting the hashtag, maybe it could be from your event, hashtag of your event, or hashtag from your specific industry. If you're on, I don't know, accounting, for example, maybe some of the keywords that are used in the community of accounting, just to see who are the ones that are chatting the most, posting the most, and what kind of crowd or community do they have, what kind of followings do they have. Based on that activity, that tells you who are your, for example, the top contributors in that specific hashtag, which or that topic. Basically, it's all about the topic. So whatever topics you want to cover, try to find the relevant hashtags that are people using the most, and see who are the most the top contributors and the most retweeted people. And that's data available and open on Twitter. You can see all that stuff publicly, so it's easy to identify who are the ones that you might want to go and approach to help you in creating your campaign or co-create with you. Or it could be possible even looking for speakers for your conference. That could give you also a good idea of some of those experts that are out there that are quite present and verbal online on social. That could also be a good draw if you bring them on board as part of your program. If you're doing medical conferences, there's also a great tool called Simpler, and this one is also, it aggregates pretty much all the different medical conferences that are available and all the different influencers in the medical industry. So, and as a conference as well, what you could do is you can register your hashtag on their platform, and it allows other medical professionals to discover your conference and follow it and be aware of that. Let me put that in the chat. It's called Simpler. So that's a great. It's very niche. It's only medical. They don't do anything else. So you can go there and you can type your hashtag, you can register yours or type your competitor's hashtag even, and you'll see who is most active there, who are the influencers there, who are the ones that are talking and posting the most on this platform. It also shows you this graph that you see here, how the relations between people, who are the ones that are the most active and how are they connected to each other, what they're following, what's their authority, like domain authority. There's quite a bit of data that you could pull from that. It's a really powerful one to use. The other one is also a BuzzSumo. This one, it is a paid account, but it allows you to discover influencers based on keywords, based on specific topics that you're interested in. By typing in some keywords there, it will pull to you the people who are the most active in that specific area or content. And also it will find people that are lookalike like them. You might also put like a name of a speaker or someone that you know there, and it will also find you other ones who are like that person. That will show you what's their level of authority, what kind of engagement do they get, what kind of retweets or comments they get from their followers. Because if you get someone who's posting stuff and you notice that nobody really cares and nobody is commenting or retweeting their content, it's not so much someone really that will bring in too much value for you. You just want people who will drive engagement and be active in their community, and community is very receptive to what they're posting out there. This is a disclaimer. This is our platform that we had launched 2 years ago, Snowball, and it's in essence what we do in this is that we believe everyone is an influencer. So it's about mobilizing pretty much everyone who's involved in your conference by mobilizing them with the content that they could be sharing and promoting their presence at your event, whether they're speakers, exhibitors, or attendees. So it's about democratizing influence, because everyone has some sort of an influence on someone else to recommend an event. So things to measure. The reach, we talked about earlier. You want to reach specific interest groups, because every event, every organization has its own niche. So it's not about reaching the masses here. It's about reaching that small little group of people that you want to be aware of your conference, for example. It's certain demographics that you're going after. So if they are very specific, or let's say you want to attract more millennials to your conference, so you want to identify some people who would relate to millennials. And each group of your attendees could identify someone that would resonate with that specific group. So you might have to also have different verticals of content and campaigns that will appeal to different types of people that you have that you want to go after. Also, the engagement, like I mentioned earlier, you want to see whoever is going to be involved in your campaign is that they have that engagement, they have that community that is responsive to them and what they're putting out there. So that's really really important to have as well. And the conversations, it's not about the one-way conversation that this person is posting stuff. It's all about also that two-way street conversation where they can also be contributing and talking to their community. So I keep talking about collaborating and co-creation, and it's really the core of it all. It's just because you're partnering up with those influencers and having something that is of value to them as well in highlighting their expertise, and at the same time helping you elevate your conference content and driving your campaign basically with valued content as opposed to you're always looking for something to post and promote, and we find ourselves most of the time talking about deadlines, early birds, and things that are like vanity numbers that for people, these are not really the drivers of why they come to events. They come to events because they want to learn something new. They want to take away some best practices or real life cases where they can apply it back at their work. They want to know who else is going. That's a big driver. I mean, if you look at your website and you have something that shows who else is going and who is attending, or even on your app, we've noticed that in many campaigns we've done is that the top one of the top clicked links on either website or app where they show the who's attending is the who's attending, because that's a big driver to know who else is going to be there. So it's really important to get those influencers to help you in being part and co-create for the promotion and drive value and education around the content that you're putting out there. So I'm going to go through some examples here. I'm not sure if there's any questions along the way, or you want me to pause for a minute, take some questions, or do I keep going?
If we have some questions, we can take a second to see if anyone has any questions they want Rachel to ask.
Which gives me 2 seconds to take a sip of water. Okay. So if there's no question at this point, I mean, we'll keep it till the end. That is not a problem. I'll share some example of campaigns that we've seen that made use of influencers that were quite effective. B2B examples, yes, absolutely. And these are the ones that examples that I have are B2B examples. These are the ones we're focusing on, and this is the purpose of it. It's really for B2B. In this case here, what you see on screen is Microsoft and National Geographic, who partnered up to drive a campaign around, they called it What's Next, Make What's Next. And that's really about empowering girls to change the world and stay in STEM. So it's really about inspiring other girls to be part of the science and technology world and be part of what's next. So what they did is they partnered with the National Geographic, and they got different industry people who were photographed in their own little areas of careers, basically. A diver you see here, and obviously National Geographic makes great photos. So obviously it was gorgeous to have there. So they had 350 million followers. Yes, that's huge. And 30 photos of prominent female scientists and adventurers were shared across the campaign, and it was really effective. Where you see here the results of 3.5 million likes on only 30 photos in a single day. That is like outstanding. Obviously, I mean the followers are huge in this case, but to show the effect of one campaign and how people it was easy to relate to, that after even the fact that the campaign ended, the followers and the community took it on, and it really resonated with them that they continue creating content around that same topic, around that same hashtag that kept trending even after that. So it was really something that kind of people took on and they related to and then continued with it after that. In this here case, the company Profix is a software company for accounting and finance. So when they wanted to first start their campaign, they were starting from scratch. They weren't sure about doing influencer campaign and how to go about it even. So it was simple. What Top Rank company did for them is that they looked around and they identified the 27 thought leaders in accounting, and they didn't have a relationship with them. They didn't know them that well, but obviously doing some research, they found these are the top 27 experts basically in finance, that they're active, they have their own blog, they have their own followings. So all what Profix did is create a blog post where they just highlighted these 27 people, saying that these are people you might want to follow. We see those in our industry, in event industry too. You have the BizBash list of event planners for 2019, and they list them there. They're just listing them. So, and then Profix approached these 27 people and said, "Okay, we highlighted you in here." So some of them were really, really excited about it, and they agreed to take it on a next step. And this post here was like really effective. That was one of their top posts on blog posts on their website, and it was only simply a roundup of people who are experts there. So what they did after that, based on those 25 people, there were about maybe 15 people who were approached after that and accepted to be part of a larger campaign for this company, where they created a quiz that was based on their expertise. So they're asking questions about financing and other things that are related to that specific industry, but in a quiz type of form, like a Candy Crush game. And if you see the link at the bottom of that little screen, the tprk.us/crush FPA, it's actually the actual game. So if you go to that link and you can try to play around there, and they made it fun way of giving different statements and quiz around the topic of financing by those experts, but it's a game. At the end of the game, the call to action was, this is some of the quiz that you see here. So this is, David Chase asking different questions, and then people are answering. Obviously, what's helping Profix do is all this is almost like a survey, collecting data from people and what people are answering from that. This is the goal to use. And the goal from that game at the end of it was to download a guidebook at the end of it too. So using the blog forms, the long form contribution from these 15 experts that they got to create these blogs, and from those they created a game that was like an interactive game with different quizzes around the topics that they're offering. And at the end of it is a download of the PDF. So it's like a multiple steps type of campaign that they used, and their results were amazing, where they got like 600% views on just one campaign. And what happens also is all these 15 people who are contributing to this content, obviously they became brand ambassadors and champions, and they also shared and promoted their contribution to their communities and the fact that they are taking part of this campaign. So it also opened up the audience of Profix to the audience that follows these different influences that they have. This is the case that we did with Snowball. Basically, in our case, it's a little bit different. It's basically using the platform to curate the program for a conference. So what you see here, we create different landing pages that are personalized for every single committee member who was working on the program. And Sandra Barr was one of the 400 people that were working on the 6 tracks of this conference. So we gave them each their own landing page to promote to their communities in order to encourage people to submit abstract or sessions to the program. So it's about collecting as many people as possible to bring in their thought leadership and propose sessions to the program. This is the first phase of the campaign that we did for them. The second phase was after the abstract was closed and the speakers were selected. Then we ran another campaign where we gave all the speakers that they had their own landing pages where they be promoting the sessions and the topics that they're presenting on at this specific event. So there's multiple ways and multiple goals also within the same campaign that we utilize the platform in order to activate a certain segment of influencers depending on which goal we're hoping to achieve with each phase. The other thing also what we did for this specific campaign is it was the first time happening. It's a resource for future generation. It's all about resources, geology, and all that. So what we did is what you see here is like small little videos, interviews of 2-3 minutes each that were all curated from the committee program chairs because obviously it's the first time this international conference is happening. So they don't have that year to year or legacy that they can tap into. So what we decided to do with the client was that let's see, obviously the people who are working on the program are industry leaders and they have their own expertise. So we try to tap into them because they also have their following and they were credible in their own little areas of expertise. Let's tap into them and try to extract from them a little bit more in-depth knowledge and explanation on what is this program going to be about and why would someone be interested in coming to this event. So not only you can tap into your speakers, you can start way before when you're building the program, is if you want to look at the people who are gathered around creating that program or different tracks, and each track has its own chair that could be contributing, or even if it's not them, maybe they might recommend someone else if it's specific to a certain topic that they would be having those interviews to talk a little bit more about what to expect at the event. This is another case also what we did for PCMA convening leaders, where it's also tapping into the speakers, personalizing their shareable landing page where they could be promoting themselves, their topic, personalized with their photos. And also we did it also for the actual participants because sometimes we forget that the attendees have even greater influence over others because in some way they have nothing to sell if they're promoting a certain conference or just saying that the fact that they're going to be there. They're perceived more in a genuine way. So you post that, hey, I'm going to connect, and most likely, if you are a planner and you post on your LinkedIn that you're going to Connect Marketplace, for example, which is the next slide here, what I have, we did it also for Connect Marketplace. So the left-hand side was a landing page for all the participants, the meeting planners who went there, and the right hand was the speaker. So if you are a meeting planner and you post that you're going to connect on your LinkedIn, the chances are that you have other meeting planners in your contacts and connections there are quite high. So the idea here is to tap into the lookalike audience of your potential attendees. So having your participants and attendees also be part of your marketing machine is really, really powerful to expand the reach and that exposure of your event as well. So when we did the Connect campaign, it was really interesting to see, and this is, the influencers would get all their landing pages and they get all their social media pre-written posts for social media that they get to share and promote the fact that they're either presenting or going to the event. And what you see here is, the brand is at the center of all these different feeds of anyone who's part of this event. I don't know, many of you would know Matt Johnson, who is part of the Connect team. He posted this 24 hours before going to Connect, and it doesn't show here, but he has like 100 likes, 12 comments. And what was fascinating about it to see is that if I would scroll to see the comments that were there, people were like, "Oh, I didn't know you're going. Let's meet up." And then other people on his only post were chit-chatting and networking and making plans to meet at Connect, regardless of Matt. But Matt was the instigator of that whole conversation. Other things were happening there too, like someone posted and noticed someone else's job has changed. Like, oh, I didn't know you changed jobs. So it's really driving conversation and provoking this whole connections and conversations and pre-networking before it even gets there. The question I see here, am I understanding correctly that you are actually approaching the speakers and asking them to actually share out these pieces via their social accounts? Yes, this is exactly what it is. So a lot of what we hear is that, from organizers, they wish and they'd love to have their speakers participate in promoting the conference. The same thing, they'd wish that their exhibitors did the same thing, but a lot of the issue is that you're asking your speakers to do more work. You're asking your exhibitors to do more work, and most of the time they don't have time to do it, and they're not, invested into adding more work to them. So what we are doing here, what we're simplifying for them with the platform that we created, is that we're handing them everything pre-done for them. The landing pages you saw, they're already pre-done, pre-designed, pre-personalized to them. They have nothing to do other than just share to their social media. Do you ever get pushback from speakers not wanting to do this? Not that I know of. Actually, we've gotten emails thanking us for making it so simple for them to do that. Even the speakers who are really, obviously they know their subject matters. They've written stuff, but yet when it comes to writing a post and posting something or creating something to share about what they're going to be doing at a conference, they kind of hesitate and brush it to the side. But in this case here, they were pretty open and happy to get that. So I have not had any experience in any pushback from that side at all. I mean, the worst case scenario is that they don't do anything with it, so they just ignore it. But usually it's about 50 to 60% adoption from the campaign that you get from speakers or exhibitors. And sometimes the attendee participants' engagement and adoption of this campaign, it's way much higher than the speakers and exhibitors. And sometimes the clients would be surprised because they didn't think that segment would be open to do that. This is another one that also what we've done for exhibitors specifically with this client. What they did with their influencer campaign specifically for exhibitors, they created a recruitment challenge campaign with them where they gave every exhibitor their own landing page with a unique registration code. In that way, they could measure to see which exhibitor brought in the most people to come in and register for the event. And the one that got the most people to register, they won. They had different awards for them. And the different prizes that they had were very simple. It wasn't necessarily monetary prizes, but something that would be of value, that would incentivize that exhibitor to take part of the campaign. So some of the prizes were priority placement of their booth for next year's show, hotel upgrade, or maybe bringing an extra rep to their booth at no extra cost. So it's really up to you to be a little bit, creative in that way, and your exhibitors more than anyone to know what would resonate with them the most or get them active to be part of the campaign. What the client did in this case, which is the client here is CompTIA, what they did also part of this campaign is on the event website, they shared the top three the top three exhibitors who are winning this challenge. So every week, those top three are changing, and it's a kind of drive to get the other ones where it's like, oh, you're number 4 or number 5, to do a little bit of an extra push to promote and send to their clients, post on their social media, to get as many people to register for the event as possible via their channels and their communities. And in this case here, it was quite effective. The results that they got out of it, if you look at some of their statistics, really, 126 exhibitors were responsible for bringing in 342 registrations just using this particular campaign. So it's really important to see, if there's a specific segment, is there some sort of a contest or incentive that could be implemented in place that could be both beneficial for the influencers and maybe at the same time think about the person who's registering via this campaign. Is there something in it for them too that would drive them to be part of that and take part of this campaign as well? In terms of content, also for conferences, another a great example here from the Content Marketing Institute, who partnered up with Top Rank, who's a large agency that's doing great stuff on B2B influencer marketing, where the same concept as I explained earlier. They partnered up with the 36 marketing influencers, and obviously these are the 36 were coming to speak at the Content Marketing Conference, Content Marketing World Conference, and they tapped into their knowledge and their community, and then got some, bits of wisdom and advice and best practices from them to create and co-create with all of them an ebook, a 48-page ebook that was shared also on SlideShare on LinkedIn, and they got 15,000 views. That they got also a blog post out of each of those contributions. So imagine 36 marketing professionals. Find that's you have already there 36 blog posts just from that. And from one blog post, you can repurpose that into so many different things that could be, small little bite-sized content on social media, visuals. You could do infographics from them. You could do so many different things. And it's all driven by content, driven by influential people who would, people would resonate with one or the other and would drive them to, see your event in a different light and also consider it for attending for the next time they want to go to the event. So 29 out of 36 influencers activated for an 83% amplification rate. And they had a video also that they did it on YouTube where they had 4,400 video views because of the different interviews that they had with each of those different influencers. Take it a little bit step further here, how effective it is, just how influential some people are. This is a large influencer, so it's a different type of influencer. So Cristiano Ronaldo, the football player, the soccer player, he was paid $250,000 for one tweet. Obviously, he has 75 million followers, but one tweet was responsible for generating 2.5 million in revenue. And obviously, everything is put in place to track all that and know where the traffic came from because of that tweet to make sure that the ROI was measured in this case. But this is like a exaggerated case of influencer marketing. So take that into perspective and try to apply something. Find your own Cristiano Ronaldo in your association or your event that would make that impact really without having to pay them, because one, they'd have to be part of what you're doing, and it's a win-win situation for both to be part of that. And it gets more sci-fi than that. I don't know if you've seen. There are some influencers who are robots or chatbot in this case here, where CoverGirl created a chatbot that is modeled over the model Kalani Hilliker, and they kind of mimicked a little bit her personality, the way she talks, the way she answers, and she's the one that kind of talks to people who are followers in the chat. They don't hide the fact that she's a bot, but people get a kick out of it, and still they're getting the engagement from that, and she's driving sales from the cosmetic portion of it because of her celebrity, borrowing on that celebrity to model that specific influencer. So some takeaways really from this webinar and how to start and where to start. If you look at your conference, for example, just try to focus on a topic that you want to build influence around. It might be the theme of your conference. It might be specific thing you want to focus on, and then based on that, find what people are talking about, what questions do they want answered around that topic, and then finding that person or more than one person who could be answering those questions for those audience, and then partner up with them to collaborate, co-create, and co-market really your event to drive value for both um, your event, value for the influencer, and value for your prospective attendees to take part of your campaign. This is for me the end of this presentation. Thank you so much. I mean, my contacts are here. Feel free to reach me, find me anywhere on social. I'm pretty social, so feel free to have any questions. If something comes up after this webinar or if you watch it later on and you have any questions, drop me a line. I'm fascinated by the topic. I'm always open to talk about it and share ideas and some of the things we've seen or tried. And yeah, thank you. I'm open now for any questions if anybody has any more questions to ask.
Thank you so much, Rachel. We'll wait a few seconds to see if anyone has any questions for Rachel that you want to ask her. All right. If we don't have any questions, her contact information is up on the screen. So like she said, if you have something that comes to you later, feel free to reach out to her. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Oh, we do have a question. Victoria wants to know, what was the most innovative strategy you've seen used?
That's an interesting question. Innovative strategies. Oh, it's really nothing comes to mind specifically. It's the way you use it, really the campaign and how you use it. Basically, it all comes down to the same thing. It's about people collaborating with people and trying to get that message across with them, and how do you get the most use of it in the most cost-effective way to do it. I don't have a specific example in mind to do that. I'll think about that.
Okay. Thank you for the question. So after this webinar concludes, you will be directed to a short survey. If you guys could fill that out, that'd be great for us to get some feedback for our future webinars. And if you would like a copy of this presentation, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll notice several widgets, and the one with the paper fold has the handout that you can download of the presentation. For everyone joining us live today, the credit is approved by the EIC. We'll email your certificate this evening. And if you're watching on demand, please email me directly at cmoore@connectmeetings.com to receive your certificate, because it will not come to you automatically if you're watching on demand. And this is our last webinar for the year, and we'll be back with more informative education in the new year starting in March 2020. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day, everyone, and I hope your holidays are great as well.
Happy holidays, everyone.